Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of The Metal Meltdown. Today we are talking about the sixth studio album from Swedish black metal crew Dark Funeral, entitled We Are the Apocalypse, which in theory I could accurately describe semi-appropriately as being just another Dark Funeral record, but I have thoughts, and yeah, y'all, fuck it. I don't really feel like taking any longer than necessary to do this review, so let's just rip this band-aid off as quickly and painlessly as possible. I don't think this is a very good record. It is very one-dimensional. It is very straightforward and repetitive to the point of being boring. It relies solely on black metal cliches, both lyrically and musically. The same tired tremolo riffs and beats and acidic vocals and super fucking cliche lyrics about Satan and darkness and, the fucking end of the world and all this other nonsense. There's a severely disappointing lack of memorable, punchy, dynamic riffs and choruses and beats and harmonies. Memorable, punchy, dynamic anything, and that's not just because of the songwriting, it's also because everything is pushed way, way, way back. Like, the vocals are placed so high in the mix that everything else is quite literally buried in a fuzzy, generic black metal pile of mud. I never expected anything truly amazing or revolutionary, mind you. I have always seen Dark Funeral as one of the least interesting exports from both the second wave black metal movement and the 90s Swedish metal explosion. They are underdogs of both scenes, never really reaching the same creative peaks and levels of commercial success enjoyed by their peers in both scenes by bands like Mayhem, Immortal, Emperor, Enslaved, At the Gates, Meshuggah, Opeth in Flames, and many, 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 many more. But I was expecting, or at least hoping, for a semi-competent, briefly entertaining plate of meat and potatoes traditional black metal. Nothing too spicy, nothing too chaotic or lavish, but just, meatloaf and some mashed potatoes. And I guess that is kind of what I got, but this meatloaf is dry as fuck. These mashed potatoes are clearly fucking powdered. Everything is unseasoned. It's clearly microwaved. I'm willing to bet it's been sitting in the back of Dark Funeral's fridge for a couple of weeks now, and I'm just not really enjoying it whatsoever. Opening track Nightfall starts the album off on an appropriately grim note. I like the initial atmosphere. I like that supernatural fog that initially cloaks the record, the spoken word vocals, the very fast-paced, fiery percussion and tremolo black metal guitar riffing. But with time, this track just grows somewhat tiring. It never really evolves or introduces any really memorable melodies or hooks. The same can be said almost word for word for the following track, Let the Devil In. It is a little bit slower in the beginning, but aside from that, it follows more or less the exact same blueprint as Nightfall. Same goes for When Our Vengeance Is Done, Nosferatu, When I'm Done, and I think you get the point from here. The album is so repetitive that whatever tiny, insignificant things I might have initially enjoyed just don't really matter and just don't really have any impact at a certain point. The only significant, interesting things that stand out would be maybe the utter ferocity of the title track, but even that feels like a wasted opportunity. Like, that could have been a really declarative and provocative kind of anthem, like something on par with Satan Is Real from Creator, but instead it's just like an over-the-top, hyper-furious black metal cut, and I don't know, I guess it works better than the other cuts on this record since I brought it up, but I hesitate to say that it's, like, amazing. It's more so the best by default in comparison to everything else. There's also the introduction to Leviathan. I'm briefly caught off guard by its kind of spooky, soft-plucked guitar introduction, but I don't know, even that still feels pretty derivative of what a lot of black metal bands would use as like an interlude or an introductory piece on any one of their records. I feel especially bad for the drummer here because his performances are tight as fuck, crazy sharp, crazy brutal. He's got talent, that's undeniable, but it's being wasted on some really unremarkable songwriting and songcraft. Though to be fair, even if the songwriting and songcraft was some seriously spectacular, mind-blowing shit, I don't think it would make a difference because the album puts so much effort into pushing everything as far back into the mix as possible and pushing the vocals as high up into the mix as possible. Like Heljarmadir, or whatever the fuck his real name is, dominates this fucking record. He is very clearly the star of the show, which is weird because he's a relatively recent addition to the band. I mean, he's only performed on like 2 other records, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know, maybe he's best friends with the producer, maybe he's just got like a weirdly iron grip on the rest of Dark Funeral. Whatever the case, he dominates the forefront of the sound. Thank God, for the most part, his vocals are pretty solid, but even his high, cackled, goblin-esque shrieks and screams lose their luster and appeal with time. Yeah, this is a solid 2 out of 5 from me. A pretty piss-poor record from start to finish, in my opinion. It's boring, it's not very well written, it's not very well produced, it's not like a horrible or offensive record by any stretch, but there's nothing on here that I can say I even briefly enjoyed that I would want to come back to, that I would want to see explored on a future Dark Funeral record. Maybe the true cult, hardcore black metal purists will find something to love here, you know, the kinds of people who just want to hear tremolo riffs and blast beats and lyrics about Satan until the end of fucking time. Maybe they'll love this. Good for them if that's the fucking case, but I don't know, I'm looking for something a lot more exciting in my black metal. I'm looking for something with really dynamic songwriting. I'm looking for something with experimental flourishes and great production and really smart songwriting and concepts and storytelling, and this just isn't it. We Are the Apocalypse is in both its best and worst moments an utterly bland, thoroughly unremarkable, almost painfully average kind of black metal record. There's nothing here that you haven't heard done better by hundreds, if not thousands, of other bands by now. For that matter, that you haven't heard done better on a previous Dark Funeral record. 2 out of 5. It's poor. It's not very good. Not at all. Yeah. It's Dark Funeral. What are you gonna do? And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be. So what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe right here so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.